In this video, we're going to be talking about the backstory of the egg and many other things that we got to hear about in the Tales from the SMP. But before we get into all of that, please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, but with that being said, enjoy the video. The Tales from the SMP are short canon stories which happen in one stream. This is a series hosted by Karl and has had about 5 episodes so far. Now each episode contains a canon story which either happened a few years before or a few years into the future, and Karl's character is basically a time traveler who goes into the future or the past or wherever and spectates these events happening, and sometimes they have a good bit of lore into them which are linked to the main storyline. And the most recent one was called The Masquerade. Now what happened in this was basically a bunch of rich people went into a mansion hosted by Technoblade, who was named Sir Billiam, and randomly people would be getting murdered and they have to find out who the murderer was. Now I'm not going to explain every little bit that happened because I believe that Karl will be putting the video up on his channel, so make sure you watch that when that comes out. But what I want to get into is all the lore and things that we got in this episode, because a lot of it does link up to the egg and the current storyline which is happening right now. Now towards the end of the episode, Lord Billiam, also known as Technoblade, leads Karl to a room which contains the egg that everybody is going on about on the story right now.
Oh, of course. I remembered this. We'll just hide in here.
Okay.
Let's move in further to our room. This, of all the rooms in this mansion, this is my favorite.
Why?
I keep something very special in this room. This
Me?
is where I keep the egg. Oh, the egg.
Technoblade then goes on to explain that when he was traveling, he found a mansion, which is the one that you're in right now, and that this was the breeding ground for the egg, which means that the egg has always been in this area. He also goes on to explain that he renovated the mansion so he could just live in there and it could just be a nice place, and that his job with the egg was to feed people to the egg. He specifically says poor people, but I don't think the egg really has much of a preference. But yeah, this explains that the egg has always been here. It's always been in this mansion, and there's always been somebody to basically feed people to it. And over time, as you may know, the world changes, so things get buried underground, and that could be the reason for the egg being underground at the moment in the current SMP storyline. So what Bad Boy Halo and Antfrost had found was the egg, but probably over 1,000 years old. This egg isn't a new thing and has actually been around for a while, but I assume because nobody was feeding it, it wasn't really like active or spreading across the SMP until Bad Boy Halo and Antfrost have started to listen to it.
But you couldn't have been doing any of the killings.
Oh, no. No, the egg did that.
What do you mean the egg did that?
Well, you see, the egg can persuade people to do what it wants. Do not fear the egg, Karl. Do not fear the egg.
So you've been in control of all of these people?
Oh, no, the egg has been in control. I am merely its guardian.
Now here Technoblade gives us a bit more information on what the egg actually does. A lot of us just assume that the egg turns people into their evil self or their worst self, but now we've got clarification that the egg just controls people. So if the egg wants Tommy to die, then the egg will get Bad Boy Halo and Antfrost to hunt him down. If the egg wants Dream out of prison, then it will get Bad Boy Halo and Antfrost to go and get Dream out of prison. I'm only saying these two because these two at the moment are the main people who are being infected by the egg and are basically being controlled by it. In a way, the egg just uses people as hosts and it just talks through them. It does all its actions through people. And well, that could be a very dangerous thing because at the moment we have no idea how to stop the egg. And that means Bad Boy Halo and Antfrost just aren't themselves and probably won't be until either they get killed or the egg gets killed. Now I'm going to quickly move on to more information about Karl's character and the first look at a place called the In-Between. Now what we know from Karl's character so far is that he is a time traveler and he is losing his memory because of time travel. So every time he goes backwards in time or forwards in time, a chunk of him goes missing. Now this is important because after every event, he now has to write a diary on 1, what happened in the event, and 2, an update on his character and his well-being and what he remembers and things like that. So all of these events, whether they happened in the past or the future, are written into books which are in the current SMP and the current timeline, which means if anybody finds out where the library is, which he keeps all of these books in, well, they're going to know a lot more information than they should do. Which brings us on to the in-between. The in-between is a place that Karl goes to after time traveling, and is basically a gateway to different time periods. After every stream, he's going to be ending up in this place and probably learning more things about himself and maybe a few hints to future events. Now in this place that he visited, there is a few books that is on the floor and that he basically reads out, but I'm going to read them out for you and give you a few theories on what I think is going to happen soon. Now one of the books that he picks up says, you don't get to choose when you time travel or when you return, but you already know that, and that is something that will remain true. Something that doesn't need to remain true, however, is your body's deterioration. I know that every time you time travel, you lose more and more understanding on who you are, and this is something that you can absolutely solve in the future. I can guarantee that if you explore this castle enough, you will one day know what to do to stop losing yourself, and have a better control over your mind. And then further up into the castle, there is another book that says, I'll leave you with one clear objective. You do not have a choice in the matter. You will continue to time travel and you will continue to regroup back here in the in-between. You must continue to write the stories along the way. The preservation is worth every second of your time. These stories are important to continue to share what the world is and who you are. More important than each story individually is the library itself. Next time you're back to your library, you need to move it. Find a peaceful land and start fresh. Try to get everyone to join you that will. But don't let anyone know about where these stories really come from. Don't let anyone know about what the in-between is, and don't let any harm come upon your library. Till next time, enjoy yourself. I hope to see you back here soon. Now the first question that you may be asking is, who is writing these books? Well, there is many possibilities. Maybe it was Karl beforehand and he's just forgotten about doing all of this. Or there is somebody, different. There's another person who is higher than Karl helping him with all of these stories and helping him time travel and everything like that. A sort of godly figure maybe, I'm not too sure. If you looked around this castle, which you probably will see in these clips that I'm using, it's very white and pristine, and if you think about it, it's very godlike. So maybe there is somebody higher up than Karl telling him what to do and guiding him through all of these stories. We don't have a specific character yet, but maybe in the future we might get a little hint to who this might be. And as you may have heard in these books, the author of them tells him to move the library in which he contains all the stories. Now as we know, Karl is a time traveler, which means the person who is writing these books is probably also a time traveler, who might know that something soon might happen to his library, and he's just warning Karl before anything might happen to the books. And the final thing that I want to talk about in these books is that it says to gather as many people who are willing to help you and join you, which means that there's probably going to be more people coming along in these stories who are time travelers or just joining Karl on these time traveling experiences. And again, who might they be? I have no idea. Possibly Rambo maybe, because his character loses his memory as well. Maybe they can just bond over that. I'm not too sure. But these tales from the SMP episodes get better and better each time, and if you're not watching them, I highly recommend doing so. The lore in them is very useful and kind of connects a few lines with things that you might not understand currently. Like of course, we wouldn't have known about the backstory of the egg if this never happened. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please click the video that is on screen right now and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Also hit that like button.